Hey, good morning. We have
Morning.
a very special guest, and I feel very honoured having him on the Phil Carew show. We have Kyle Fisher, who is also part of this great group that I would like to actually say is Elite Dance, also the director of Elite Dance, and he's also an instructor there too. It's been great having you, and an honour to have you on the show, Kyle. So what can I say? In terms of off the cuff here, how was it in terms of your competition that your group and Elite Dance and yourself? What was it, last week? Should I say that started there in Blackpool?
Good morning, Phil. Yes, we had our national championships this weekend just gone, so it took place from the Saturday morning through to the Sunday evening. It's a big one. It's one we work towards all year. We have lots of pupils preparing dresses, clothing, hair, makeup, travel, accommodation. There's a lot that goes into it. And yeah, we had a fantastic event. We went with the expectation that we would do well, because we try to work extremely hard.
Yes.
But no, we had a better than we expected occasion. So we had lots of people having success in their events, all ages. So we start from even as low as under 6 all the way through to an over 65s category. But yeah, we went with high expectations, I guess, because we're working hard, but we superseded that, which was lovely. Lots of happy pupils, happy teachers, and we're already thinking now what's next on the agenda. So we've got more competitions coming, and we're going to get together this week coming and start laying the foundations for those.
Oh no, like I said, folks, just the audience here, just to let them know. Is there a little bit of a backstory you can sort of give us in terms of your background of how you got involved in dance itself?
That's an interesting story, actually. So I have always been a dancer as far as I can remember, pretty much. But I was never necessarily brought up in a dancing environment. Strangely, I learned to dance as a punishment, in opposed to something I wanted to do. And it was a punishment of, you'll learn to respect what dancing is about, not do you want to give it a go because you seem to be musical. So my parents made a decision that they would marry when I was 8 years old, and they naturally did a wedding dance. Whilst they were doing their wedding dance, my cousin and myself, we were at the end of the floor, not imposing on them, but just enough so that we were having a joke, playing around and being a little bit silly. And yeah, that didn't go unnoticed. And my parents said, okay, well, if you think it's funny to dance around as a joke, maybe you'll appreciate what it means to dance properly. Little did they know that it only took a few sessions, and I picked it up very quickly, and it was pretty much what I felt I was probably born to do.
Wow, what a turnaround there. That's a great story. So in regards to dance itself, because I know it's a very broad sort of subject when it comes to dance. There's so many different styles, different things, because you get a lot of popularized things where some people these days, if they're not aware of what dance is like, how much goes into it, if you're not a dancer yourself. Now, I have danced in the past a little bit, but I even just witnessing what all of you from all ages go through. It's a lot of practice, a lot of work behind it, with your passion, because obviously a lot of passion goes a long way with the interest of what you're doing, and with those sort of hours of practice as well. And in regards to that, I think with dance, there's a lot of popularity where you have so many different styles now merging, because I think sometimes typically people think, oh, street, it's not just street dance. There's so many different areas that vast techniques and different styles. They've actually become ballroom. You got street mixed in with contemporary. dance and ballroom, and then when you put all those together, it is dance, because dancing is dancing, but it's just depending on what area you want to focus on, because sometimes you don't realize, if you don't try these different styles like cha-cha-cha, the rumba, things like that, you got Latin American sort of music, foxtrot, all those different things at ballroom, like they do with Strictly. Now, some of these, some of the young, and not unless you're into your dance, may not be aware of it, of all these different names, unless you've been watching like Strictly. I know a lot of people, when they watch it for the entertainment, but others, they find it as a form of not just dancing, but also as a social interaction as well, which I've noticed, and it's helped them grow, one, their confidence, two, their interaction with more people, and also thirdly, a hobby and a passion that they end up doing, and then they don't realize didn't even realize they liked it, until they've tried it. Now, in regards to that, there must be a particular favorite of yours. Is there any favorites of sort of styles of dance that you have?
Well, so as a dance school, we do specialize mainly in ballroom and Latin, so it is typically what you see on the likes of Strictly Come Dancing. We do have other dance styles taking place within the school. So we have sequence dancing, which is a classical form of dancing, and we also have disco freestyle, which is closely linked to the things like Saturday Night Fever with John Travolta and those sort of like 70s, 80s vibes. But wow. Yeah, for me, I was always that bit more passionate about the ballroom dancing, and mainly in particular the foxtrot. It doesn't mean that I don't thoroughly enjoy all the dancing that I do, because I really do. There's nothing I would leave behind. But for me, yeah, just the smoothness and the what foxtrot brings to me as a person, it's by far just up there for me. But yeah, with all the different styles of dancing, I like to think that there's a style of dancing for everybody, because really everybody expresses themselves, and dancing is a form of expression. So yes, when you think about what people do for things like that these days, mental health, and then fitness, social well-being, there's so many things that you try to achieve outside of like our day-to-day working life, and I do genuinely believe that dance is a wonderful way to target any of those areas.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I love it, because I said to somebody before, I said, you don't know, when you're doing something physical, it's not about going to the gym. It's another form of exercise where it's not just exercising your body, it's having fun with it, and then utilizing it to your advantage in being able to use that with that freedom of expression, seeing the happiness in someone's eyes, and even entertaining someone at the same time. So it's a two-way street. You're entertaining and also giving something back to someone that's, oh wow. It's like, even my mum and my partner and Meg, my partner, and I, when we watch things like this, and my auntie, it's amazing, because it's not about going to parties. You've probably gone to, you get people where you've got social aspects, events, and gatherings, even family gatherings, for example, and it's nothing better than seeing people enjoy themselves with that sense of freedom and expression, in dance, because it's not just singing, it's also the dancing, because you're seeing people having a laugh, enjoying themselves, not always taking it too seriously. But obviously there's a point of when you are doing something, when you do take it seriously, you see that kind of passion, how great deal of importance of how much people make an effort, to get to where they are, which is a lot of discipline behind it. It must have been an experience for you. What was it like? This is what great question I'd like to ask you is, what was it like to have the transition from being a student dancer to becoming an actual instructor, director, of an actual dance school? Because it must have been great, having that feeling, knowing that, look, I've got to this stage where I was a student, now I'm actually teaching, from where I was, and look at where I am now, and you think, how did I come, I've come this far from doing that, what I love doing, to now even bigger,
Firstly, I think there's definitely a big distinction between being a dance teacher and
Yes.
then leading the dance school. So
Yes, of course. Yeah.
the transition I made into teaching, it was seamless. I've always been very passionate about what I do. I think the biggest change that I made was understanding the difference between trying to achieve my goals and then working with somebody to achieve their goals. It never changed the ultimate goal, but it was a different
Yes.
approach that I had to adopt to understand, what was facilitating their needs.
Yes.
From a learning perspective, I think I appreciate learning more now since I've been teaching 15 years. But, if I had hindsight, then of course I would go back and I'd listen a little bit more and practice a little bit longer on certain aspects, and
Of
maybe
course.
not be so headstrong with certain things and be more open to what people say. But you can only know that with experience. So teaching, what that did for me was bring a huge understanding of actually how I learn, not necessarily how other people learn, albeit understanding what people need from their dancing is incredibly important. And one of the things I tend to say about teaching is, you can be a fantastic dancer, but maybe not a fantastic teacher, and vice versa. You don't have to have all of the skills of a fantastic dancer to necessarily be a good teacher. Understanding what you're trying to create, and then having the right passion and belief in people, extracting from them the best. It's really what it's about. And typically what we find is when people find what they want from you, they invest in you, and
Yeah.
they stay with you and they stick with you. And that transition into becoming an established teacher really is built upon the confidence that your pupils have in you.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah,
No, sorry.
it's been a long time since I started teaching, and
Yes.
one thing I know is that if you can play to people's desires and needs and work towards their goal, then
Of course.
that fulfills a lot of what they need in their dancing.
No, that's good answer actually, because I think with anything, when you're having that transition of things, you have to have a different approach. The approach is different, isn't it? So as you would see, the perspective is wider, because you realize, you think, well, hold on a moment, I'm focusing on, when I'm a student, you're focusing on these different things, and then you're going through all the different stages and phases of how to start, and what the end result would be. But then this time you've added that on to having the added responsibility of being able to not just teach and instruct, but also have that leadership position. So you've had more responsibility added on top of that. So it's it's no longer a hierarchy. It's more of added responsibility, really. Because a lot of people tend to think it's not a hierarchy thing, because I've noticed this even with anything with business. There's so many different ways of how to see business. It's no longer just hierarchy. There's like linear. We're like with the Japanese, I've noticed that when they're intake with their business, it's not always hierarchy, because that's the old school way. Now, you can have leadership that can branch out linear like that, and then it branches out from there, and then linear again, and then branch out again. It doesn't have to be all from yourself all the way down.
Yes.
As long as you delegate the right people in the right areas, it doesn't have to be like a tree, or like a tower.
It's a very unique way of building something, actually. So
Yes.
as you just explained it, funny enough, it's the business model that I follow and believe in. So firstly, being a business owner, I never really call myself a boss, let's say. All of my teachers, we all have mutual respect and we all have goals, and I see my role within the business as the person, and you may say leader, that lays the foundation for people to do what they're good at. It gives them the opportunity to pass on what they do, and however they do it, I'm there to support that. In a dancing context, we discuss ideas, we work hard towards the same goals, but we all have different ideas. We all have our own ideas and we all have different beliefs, but they coexist quite well when you have an open-minded structure. Sometimes, you know, there's the technical side of anything that you do, and there has to be a level of proficiency, and you work towards achieving that. And this is where the business side and the leadership or the ownership side of it, it comes into play. You know, I didn't appreciate 10 years ago that there's so many aspects that you have to get right in terms of business, in opposed to dancing. The dancing is what I know through and through, but, you know, making sure that you do all of your accounts, and then making sure that you're insured, and making sure that all these things that are required for a business to operate are in place, you have to learn. And it's a very different animal. And learning all of those, and then the pressures and stress of those, they do kind of pull you away from what you're trying to achieve. And it's finding that balance of, this is my passion, this is my belief, this is where I see myself going, and my goal is whatever that may be, and making sure that the distractions of running a business and internal things that take place, whether they're problems or they're things that are positive and good, and it's being able to almost compartmentalizing everything, doesn't distract you from the goal. And building a team around that purpose and that goal is quite a challenge. You can't expect to find, you know, everybody that you come across to want the same goals as you and believe in what you're trying to build. And I think, like you say, having the right people around you is hugely important. And one thing is for sure, I have an absolutely super team, and they deserve all the plaudits that they get, because they ultimately believe in what I believe in, and they work towards what my goal is. Now, they are building their careers, and we have a structure within the school that has been thought through very, very intensely. You know, we want to make sure that it's correct for them while supporting what the school needs to achieve. And all those complications do pull you away from the dancing. And it is finding that balance between how hard you want to push a business and how hard you want to push the passion. You can argue that they go hand in hand to a degree, but there comes a line where ultimately, you know, we have to think about customer service. Now, customer service is something that you have to get right in any industry. And there is the long old, you know, famous saying, the customer is always right. And if you follow that model to a degree, then, you know, you're always going to find satisfied customers, providing your services of a high quality. But it is very difficult to not become too much of a corporation mindset. We did find that expanding the dance school and moving into our own premises, and then adding more classes, and then trying to monetize them in a more 21st century way, with the whole, you know, pay monthly, and there's costs for this and costs for that, and things become very quickly expensive. It kind of takes that specialness out of what you bring to the table. But unfortunately, you know, everything has a value. And the more you invest in what you do and improve your services, typically you then become a premium service. So we're trying our best to you know, sell what we consider now a premium service within Chelmsford and the surrounding areas, to anybody that wishes to learn to dance. Going back to some of the things that you were saying earlier, you know, we are a competitive dance school, but it doesn't change the fact that social dancing is so prominent. And we have a huge part of the school that just love to get together and dance. So finding how you can tackle each niche within the dance industry, it really is a challenge. You know, if it was as simple as me just turning up, putting my dance shoes on and saying to everybody in the room, let's have a great time, my life would be more simple. But then I wouldn't be surrounded by passionate people. I would only really have a small clique, and that would be wonderful. But I think from a business point of view, you have to have the growth and the development at the front of your mind. Balancing the two, it's challenging. It's challenging, and anybody that wants to get into it, I think, you know, you have to roll your sleeves up and really embrace both aspects of learning to dance and then running a business of dance.
in regards to that, how in your take on this as a business owner, I know you've probably, because even seeing it through your eyes, and even sort of explaining it to those, not just as a dance business, but as a business owner alone, you know, because I know there's various businesses that probably tackled similar issues in certain things and even sort of challenges. But in your take, you know, I spoke to somebody today, and even some other guys in regards to business. Now, when it comes to having sort of pitfalls where people may have had challenges where it's not on the customer side, but even in business, you know, when you're trying to gain a contract, gain some sort of merger, or even applying some services that can help you, and you can help them, and you can help each other. And you know, you're very lucky, as you mentioned, you've got a great team, support network around you. Now, it's not always easy to come across that kind of combination. You have to build on that over time. Now, some people, they might have known, you could have a great group of people that are good at what they're doing, but you have to be on the same page, you know, like you said, on the same common goal, you know, and it's very, very rare where you can come across a business where you click just like that. And like I mentioned to a few people, I'm not saying this in terms of like every business that this happens to, but it's very rare. And I know I've noticed you probably even have yourself over time, whether it's outside business, you probably witnessed it or seen it and heard it, or even have knowledge of it, that there are businesses out there where you are going to come across people where you think they'll say they're going to do something for you, and then you think, right, okay, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then you think, when it comes across to business, you know, it's hard to get that balance, to be able to get someone where they'll say, okay, let's go out, have a meal, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then you think, well, how do you know how can they guarantee? You can't, that number one, they're going to give you the same sort of service, you know, for your business, because that's like your not just your passion, you know, because this is your business. We're not talking about life, we're talking about a business, because then you've got to think of how your customers are going to feel as your business, because you have that kind of recognition out there already with people. You know, the last thing you want is someone coming in, I'll go, yeah, I'll do this for you, Kyle. And then you're like, how's this going to stick? You know, and you know, what would you say your best advice to give out there to those that, whether if it's a business or even getting involved in something where, you know, you feel that, hang on a minute, before I do this, I need to get to know you? Because I think some of us, I've spoken to a good close friend of mine, where sometimes we don't always get what we want, and we can be impatient, and we can feel that, oh, I want this, but you think, well, if you don't wait, like yourself now, if you didn't wait the way you did to build on those foundations of your business to become this business model that you got now, it wouldn't be where it is now. You know, it would collapse, you know, because you're being too fast, too quick, and you know, and it gets bigger. You want to be able to grow it, you know, like you're building on it like a house, you know, or a property, you know, to lay the foundations before you lay down the roof and the interior.
So I think it's a very interesting subject that you bring up here. One thing is for sure, it's not easy, and it's not supposed to be easy. And I've not struggled with it as much as you may think when I say that. And the first bit of advice I would say is having an expectation that people want to achieve your goals is the wrong mindset to have, because they're your goals. And if you ever expect that someone will come in and achieve your goals for you, then there's only a matter of time. You almost put a shelf life on that relationship. And people will invest in what you want for a certain amount of time until it doesn't suit them, or the whole time it does suit them. Now, that's me painting actually quite a good scenario, because it doesn't even work out that way 9 times out of 10. what I would say, if you're asking me what I would advise, and I don't want to, every situation is different, but something that has always done really well for me is I never ask people to invest in my goals. I always invest in their goals. And I always look at whoever wants to be coming into the dance school or who is passing by. And, I think, what is it they want from this? What do they want to achieve? And how can we provide that? And when we can provide that, we're looking at it from a position of this person is bringing an asset into what we do.
Yes.
And if they're improving our level of service, if they're improving communications within the business, if they're improving our reputation,
yes,
then these are all things which add to what we do. Now, there's only really one person, maybe a few people within a business who can dictate where the business goes, and that's the leadership. Having the vision and the goal really does come from the top. Now, I know we're talking about everybody being more on a level playing field, but not everybody will drive it forwards equally. So seeing people and their strengths is really important. And if you have a weakness within your business and you need to facilitate a clientele base, and bear in mind, we're a service-based business, so
of course, yes.
One of the most important things within what we do is people invest in people. And I think that's an important statement across the board, because it doesn't matter what industry you're in, even if you're selling products in a shop and you have to find a way to get a new product within that shop, and you have to build a supply chain, and you have to negotiate rates and all these sort of things, you always have a better chance when people want to invest in you.
Yes.
I mean, it just brings like the idea of Dragon's Den to mind. You see some people go into it with a slightly dysfunctional business, but they love the person, and they want to invest in the person because the person ultimately has that potential. So as far as my advice goes, is just always think about the individual coming in, what they add, what their goals are, and how do you fulfill their goals? What can you do that makes them feel that they're on their path to success? Because if you are selfish and you say, okay, you're here to fulfill my dreams, that relationship is not going to last.
No, that's great advice, and I appreciate that, Kyle. The other thing is, as well, I'm going to try and throw you a nice, funny curveball now off the topic. Right. I am going to ask you, what is the funniest moment you can remember that you've had that's made you sort of tickle your ribs and go, oh my goodness, did that just happen? Like a dance move or something like ironic, and you think, how the heck did I manage to do that without like hurting myself or something? Or like, how did you do this or something like that?
I think if we're saying within my dancing experience, I mean, there's so many times I've laughed when I've been dancing. It's difficult to really pinpoint exactly what has been the funniest, but I guess there's been occasions where I'm dancing with somebody, and there's some sort of blooper moment that you haven't even realized, and I think it becomes funnier. It becomes funnier when you look back and you realize that something like you've got a huge hole in your trousers, or you've gone in to grab somebody in a hold, and all of a sudden you're like, you grabbed their head or something, and you haven't realized until you've like opened your eyes or something. It's the kind of moments where in the moment you don't realize what's going on, but then someone says to you, do you realize what happened there? And then you say, well, no, what was that? And then they inform you, and then you can't help but laugh in hysterics, because the funny thing about the style of dancing which we do, it's you could say it's considered incredibly intimate because you dance so closely.
Yes.
But when you dance so closely, hands and legs and arms are flying everywhere, and sometimes you might slip and fall over, or you might slip and catch your partner, or you may just both trip over and fall together. So it can be quite amusing when you look back at the kind of scenarios that take place.
Oh my goodness! Right, now you've mentioned that, I've got a confession to make in the dancing that I did. I didn't realise that the type of trousers that I had wasn't like the ones where you can have freely movable in it. They've got that type of material where you can stretch it a bit more, you know, like you have for dancing, you know, with that kind of free of movement with it. Now, I had these trousers, Kyle. Oh my goodness, you're gonna laugh in a minute. You mentioned about holes. Oh my goodness, I was so lucky. Well, it started off on a social aspect, you know, like family gatherings or meetings, you know, events that you have for like a Christmas do or something, or somebody's birthday. Now, you mentioned holes. For my account, on my account, I tried to do the box splits, like the jazz splits, or the other way around, whichever way around it was. I remember it was splits.
Yeah.
And my cousin's face, I've never seen her giggle so much. And I think she couldn't hold her laughter in any longer. And you know, when you get one of those laughters where you think, oh no, please don't. And when you get that look in the eyes, and they're like, the raise of the eyebrow, and they were like that. And I thought, I saw my cousin start off with it. And then I looked the other way, I'm like, oh no, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
And then someone else, and then my other cousin, and then when it leads to your mum, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So my cousin went, she said, you've got a massive hole in the back end of your trousers. And I'm like, no way. I was like, quick. So I did the split. I looked round. I was like, oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. And I had, luckily, I was so fortunate that some of them, like, because they know me pretty well, they could, I think that was a talk of the evening on the way home, because everyone was in hysterics. And I had one of those suit jackets where you could cover just under my backside.
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate I had one of them, because on the way out, like out there, because when it gets wet, obviously the last thing you want to do when it presses against, it expands the hole even bigger, and it presses against you. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that again.
No, you see, this is where you have to consider the outfit that you are going to wear before performing your moves. Now, you weren't prepared. Your trousers weren't prepared for what was about to happen. And unfortunately, when adrenaline gets the better of us in a dancing scenario, we try to bust out a few moves. They don't always play to the clothes in which we wear. So, you know, my first bit of advice there is make sure you've got the correct trousers, and the second one is don't above your weight.
Yeah, oh God, I learned that big time. My cousin says, well, look, if you're going to do something like that, make sure you wear it, like you said. I was like, oh my goodness, never again. Right, if you were to be asked, now this is a great one for you. If you were to be asked in a film to show your skills as a dancer, what style would you use?
I would probably go with ballroom.
Yeah,
in throughout my career, I've always had a little bit more of an ability in ballroom dancing, and I'd probably see myself in some sort of 1940s 50s scene, just casually doing my thing, showing off the wonderful things that ballroom dancing brings to the table. In some sort of setting, you could almost put it in like a James Bond film in the background, a bit of a dance going on. Would be quite cool, actually.
That sounds great. I'd love to see that, Kyle. Be like, oh, look at that, Kyle busting his moves, mate. Look at he's doing
exactly. It wouldn't be a case of busting the moves, because there's nothing that would need to explode onto the screen. It would all just be about the smooth, calm, gracious thing that the ballroom dancing brings. You could see it in like a James Bond going to the ball, kind of, meeting the villain and having a conversation, and then there's a
very smooth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh, I like it because I think sometimes you don't need to always, when you're dancing. I think sometimes people set expectations when they think, oh, they're going to go bust out some moves, something really sort of out there in your face, when that's not always necessary. You just need something where you can think, well, do you know what? Look at this. It's nice, smooth, elegant. Doesn't have to be busting your moves where you're just going to go out and then all of a sudden you think, hold on a moment, you could actually cause yourself an injury. kind of move, you know?
Yeah, I
Nothing
mean,
like that.
you won't see me jumping on screen in the middle of an Avengers movie trying to hit some.
Actually, that's the next question I was going to ask you. You're going to love this one. Speaking of superheroes, I like this. This is the fluidity, the questioning that you're going to get, Kyle.
Okay.
Right. Now, if you have a superpower or superpowers, and you were not just given them, but you could choose what superpowers you could use, would you use your dance skills with them, or would you just have them, you know, where you could choose particular powers and then go, do you know what, I'm going to do this? And what would you use them for if you had them?
I mean, that's such a tough question. It's a tough question to know what powers and how you would use them. But what I would use the powers for is all, you know, it's quite obvious to me. It's probably, you know, actually thinking about it, it's probably being able to, in a productive way, to be able to read minds.
Oh wow, brilliant.
Yeah, be able to read minds, because I think one thing that has become apparent to me more so in the last few years of my life, it's, you know, what purpose do I have? And it's quite a deep question, and you know, it may not be on everybody's mind, but you know, what purpose do we have in life? And I felt a transition within myself, and I can relate to some sort of superpower, I guess. And my superpower would be to read minds and then use that power to help people.
Oh, that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Now, when I teach people and being able to understand what's going through their mind, because people do struggle to articulate, and people don't always say what they really want. And I mean, it can be quite a controversial power. You know, I could abuse it, but you know, over the last few years, I have built a great desire to help people. I just, you know, it doesn't matter whatever it is I do, I just feel that if I give, I tend to be more rewarded than if I were to take.
If there was anything, now I know I've said this to a number of guests before. Do you have anything like a morning thing that you have? Do you have to have like that? What helps you, your morning sort of ritual thing? Do you have like a cup of coffee? Do you go for a walk? Do you go for a run? Do you meditate? What do you do in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my alarm clock is my children, really, and they shake me up. They get the day started, and being stable in the household with getting everything done at the right time and getting them to school. I think that's kind of the morning shake up. I wouldn't necessarily call it some sort of ritual routine, because I feel there's many different things that take place throughout my day. But as far as getting my day kick started, that's my children's job at the moment.
Yeah,
they tend to kick start it for me, and whether I've had a good sleep or a late night on, or I'm struggling for a bit of sleep, they do. Yeah, they get me into the first few gears I need to start my day.
Oh, in regards to that, now you mentioned that it's more of not a routine. It's like when you have a meal, right? Now, if you was to have a meal now, right? Now you mentioned about sort of other routines, stuff like that. Now I thought I'd throw meals in the mix. Yeah. Do you have a favorite dish that you like, you know, that you have, that you like? If you had it now, what would it be? If you was to have it right there and you go, oh, I want this. Ooh, if I could have that, I'd have this right now.
Yeah, I think my palate tends to lean towards Italian food.
Ooh, nice.
I wouldn't be lying too much if I would say I do make a banging carbonara.
Ooh, lovely.
And I do very much.
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's one of my only dishes I can really make, but it's probably my best. But yeah, I lean towards Italian food, pastas, pizzas, all those sort of things. Yeah.
Oh, do you have a particular dessert that you like as well?
Yeah, so mostly anything with custard. I do like sponge, I like pies, I just like things like drizzled in tons of custard. And then I enjoy panna cotta.
Oh, that's lovely. I like that. If you had a choice of travel with not just yourself, but the entire family that you have with you, and you didn't have to think about any money, and you thought you could just choose a place, and you think, you know what, and you spoke to your family, you said, where would you like to go? And you could just pack your bags right now, didn't have to worry about anything, and you could just do it. Where would you go and why?
At this moment in time, I am very much a family man. So we have to be going to Florida. We need to go to Disney World. We need to go to all the the Florida Keys, and we need to experience what it's like to be a child around Disney.
Of course.
We need to go and do that. That has to be up there. And for however much that would be, on my bucket list. I never got to do that as a child. It wouldn't necessarily be my first thing if I was to go by myself or with my partner. But yeah, let's go rock it out of Disney.
Oh wow, that's a good answer. I probably wouldn't mind that myself if I could just do that, just pack my bags and had the freedom to do that and go, right, we're going to go here, we're going to do that. Do that. No, that's a good answer. I love that. Now, in regards to social aspects, if someone gave you a microphone, would you sing on the karaoke?
Yeah, I can't promise that you're going to enjoy it, but I would. It would take a little bit of time for me to get up there, and if the atmosphere and environment is right, then I will join in. Yes, I have been known to go to a few karaoke bars in my time, and they have been some of the best nights I've had.
Yes.
If we're in the middle of let's say a pub and there's a karaoke potentially going on, I might not join in with that one. But if the environment's right, give me a mic, I'll get up there.
Oh wow, that's a great answer. I'm loving this already. Oh my goodness, wow. Do you play a sport? Is there a sport that you like play or have played?
Yeah, I've always been more athletic than I have been academic. I think that naturally plays to what I do. But growing up, I was always having a kick around football. Tennis was always something that we did. School sports, athletics. I always enjoyed all of it. But I also now play golf.
Oh, wow! Wow. What got you into golf? Is it just because like an individual thing, and then you could sort of relax and take your time with it? When you took your swing and then thought, right, hang on a minute, and then you figured out what your handicap was.
Yeah, it's all of those reasons. Yeah, they were. That's part of why I did it. I mean, another reason was because where I live currently, there's a golf course opposite me, and I just thought one day, let's go and see if I can get involved. I went across, I spoke to the reception there. They were very helpful. Next thing I know, I'm having a golf lesson, and then I'm down the driving range, and it just took off from there. So for me, the most interesting thing about sport in my life now, albeit I dance on a daily basis and I'm around people wanting to be better within the styles that we do. It's the escapism of the sport. It's something that I feel okay at. I have a level of competency where I can work towards a goal that doesn't put me under stress. When I think about working towards a business, it's not my comfort zone. So I have to work hard at it, which I'm not scared of, but it's a challenge in itself. I don't find it a challenge to work towards the goal within the sport. Paired with the escapism, I can put my phone on airplane mode and I can get away from the world in a healthy way, just to bring back some me time that I very rarely get.
Oh no, I appreciate that. I have to do the same because part of what I'm doing, just to explain to the audience and even yourself, this hasn't just become a passion for me. I enjoy this. Be able to one day be able to do this as a full-time position. To be able to expand on the show. It's about getting people out there, have that self-discovery, and even discovering other people. And I mentioned this to a number of guests before, Kyle. Sometimes it's not just about me. The show is about yourself and your organization, and it's great to have you on the show, like I mentioned everyone once again, because a lot of times people see what they want to see because they don't know what people have to go through, to be able to have the business and to be even the other side, the flip side of what it was like to be a student, or even being a student and still having, we're still learning ourselves. No one can ever stop learning, even being the business owner or even, in a leadership position, because everyone's feeding off each other, aren't they? We all bounce off each other, even from the people below upwards, and we're all in that position where we're helping each other. It's not about what we can do for the just the company. It's about what we can do for each other, and I always see that kind of mindset within people. And I love networking, I love integrating skills and learning from other people, like yourself, even talking to yourself. I'm still learning a lot from how people are with each other, how you interact, because it's the same with dance, how you can express your actual skills that can be, I think you and I mentioned this before, off the show. You can transfer, there's transferable skills within not just your life but also business that can interlink with what you're doing, and that builds that kind of relationship with your clients, even your friends, and how you conduct yourself. Because sometimes you've got to have your business hat on, and then when you're off, you're like, well, I don't need that now. We're outside, relax, be you, and then that's how you should be. Because I think it can be hard because sometimes you have that attachment, even like you said, the balance. And as a business owner, you have that, you've got this hat, you've got that hat, and you think, well, hang on a minute. You think, well, hang on a minute. I don't need both. I've got my logical hat here other than the other two, because that's kind of in between where you're balancing out what's a priority, and what make sure that those needs are met rather than like one over the other, because then when they start clashing, that's when things start to fall apart. But I think with what I've learned myself personally, and even like yourself, it is that kind of balance. When you've learned from being that student to now being a business owner, you have a different take on it, don't you? From that, from your own take.
Yes.
I would say it's one of those emotional journeys, that you have to go through to be able to see where you want to reach. Because I know all your goals, everyone wants that goal, don't they? The result, the end result, saying, well, look, I've met the customer's needs, I'm happy as a business owner, or as a and having a great team behind me to deliver that. Because what would you say in terms of sort of the future events? Have you got anything coming up as well as what Blackpool competition that you've had? Is there anything coming up in terms of like what your classes would be and what days? Because what I'd like to do is to let the audience know, where you'd be, and where the nearest places are, because obviously not as where we've met, but is there other areas as well where they can come and have a taster session, and then if they like what you're doing, they'll say, well, look, thanks Kyle, thanks Elite Dance, we love what you do. When can we start? When can we get the ball rolling?
So we're very proactive dance school. We have our own studio, fortunately enough, in Chelmsford, Great Baddow, on Beehive Lane. It's a little industrial unit, nice sprung floor down there. We offer a vast array of classes, all built around ballroom Latin and a few disco classes thrown in there. We operate beginner classes on Monday evenings for adults. We have Tuesday classes for children, Wednesday classes for children. We have an advanced class for adults on a Wednesday evening. And then Saturday mornings, we have a whole bunch of classes for kids to come in and start from all levels, from beginner through to advanced dancers. We do have the classes for if you've never danced before. It doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old, 10 years old, 20, 30, 40. Even we have had people in the school in their 80s. We can facilitate towards anybody. any age, any level. The classes run mainly at Highlands School. So there's a couple of big floors there that we use. It's great for the space, and the environment is buzzing when you get, you know, a room full of people wanting to do a little bit of dancing. But then one of the main thing we offer is private tuition, so one-to-one lessons, teacher and pupils. We operate every day of the week. We can operate every day of the week. We typically don't do Sundays because that's event day.
Okay.
But yeah, we have private lessons running throughout the week, and we have teachers to facilitate for all people, depending what level you're at. We can take private lessons for beginners, and we can take private lessons all the way through to competitive dancers.
Wow, no, thank you, Carl. What I'll do, folks, is just to let you know, after the actual this great interview that I'm having with Kyle, is that we'll have some information. I'll get some links as well to Elite Dance from Elite Dance. Please remember to subscribe on the bottom of the actual show on the link. And then we will also be available on the following platforms, which I'll attach to the bottom of this interview. Yeah, in regards to that as well, just to make sure on the show while I'm here, there's a few quick pointers on here. What would you say in terms of music? What music do you like? Is there any particular type? Because I know sometimes people might surprise you and I think, oh, is it to do with ballroom again? It might not be.
Yeah.
It might not be. It might be something else.
Just good music. Just good music. It doesn't really matter what style of music. If it's good music, I will listen to it. You know, I find myself listening to classical music, modern music, jazz music, pop music, rock music.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I've always been involved with music, and I can pretty much listen to most styles of music.
Yes.
And there are sometimes styles of music that are a little bit too heavy for me. But yeah, you know, if it's a good song, then the likelihood is I will enjoy it.
Oh, you're very varied. You're very similar to me then. You know, I'm quite varied myself, because I'm not a one-dimensional, sort of stuck with that kind of style of music. I'm very similar. If I like something, you know, sometimes it gets stuck, you know, in my mind, and sometimes I might even sort of try and hum or sing to it and realise I think, oh, that's quite catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Hold on one moment. This is one more question I'd like to ask you. Actually, no, actually two. Sorry, I'll forgive me for that one. If you'd like to speak to someone, would it be historical or present with you? And if you had dinner with them, where would it be, and what would you talk about?
Oh, that's a question. Wow. Okay. There's so many choices, isn't there? There's so many things I can choose from. And it's got, well, you know, something, you know, I would probably want to sit down in a lounge somewhere, doesn't matter where, just somewhere nice, relaxed, with a lovely environment, a nice ambience, probably with someone like Fred Astaire.
Wow.
You know, considered to be the greatest, one of the greatest dancers. And I just, you know, we want to have a conversation about what made him tick, you know, what gave him what was his like jam, you know, what was his,
yes, I know what you mean, yes.
You know, where did he get his motivation and passion from? And you know, understanding from someone such as that, how they you know, created, you know, this iconic person that's lived through history. I mean, he didn't realise he was going to be so famous now, but that would probably be the one.
Oh, that's a great answer. I like that. That's going to be one for the archives for me too, Kyle. I like that one. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh. The other thing is, as well, is one question would be, just to wrap things up, folks, what advice would you give your younger self and your older self? Because you're in between. What would you give yourself if you could have two time frames
Yeah.
And then you'd say, right, this is what you do. And then if you had your older self, what would you tell yourself? So if you had that timeline in between, like Back to the Future.
Yeah. So my younger self, I would teach and tell myself to stay focused. Work hard, stay focused. There's a few other things I would say, you know, be polite, be kind, those sort of things. But no, stay focused, work towards your goal, don't quit. And then my older self is just share and give.
Wow.
Just share, you know, give everything I have now, just, you know, anybody who wants to experience it, just make it available.
Wow, that's a great answer, Kyle. You know, this is one of the great things about having yourself and other guests on the show. You know, everyone's got their own take and answers and that. And, you know, sometimes it surprises me, you know, like even some of the questions that pop into my head that I ask. And then after I've had the interview, you know, the audience are going to say, oh, where does he get these questions from? And I don't always look them up, what to ask. I always ask, like, as if, you know, if I was somebody else thinking, what would the audience ask? You know, because that's different. Because if you always get the usual question, you know, everyone's going to go, right, it's too formal. Then like I said before earlier, you know, I threw a curveball a little bit and you thought, actually, yeah, that sounds quite an interesting question, because you didn't expect it, but it wasn't intrusive and it wasn't negative. It was positive, but also gave you food for thought of what you think, actually, that's quite an interesting question. And then sometimes it branches out into something else that you least expect it to be, and it gives you a surprise as well. Nice surprise at the end of it. All right, what I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to have to let Kyle go now, because he's such a busy man, as you would be able to tell when you get to know him a bit more, not just on this business side, but also when you get to know him as Elite Dance and his great lovely team when you meet them. And I'm sure they'll be able to help you out in regards to what type of dance that you like to have. Yeah, feel free to contact them on the information that is Kyle's given us, and also don't forget, like I said, click on the link below and subscribe. And I am really honoured, and I'd like to thank you very much for having you on the show and coming on, Kyle. It's been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed this interview with you. Thank you very much for coming on to the Bill Carew Show. Thanks, Phil. It's been a pleasure. It's been a nice experience to just chat a little bit away from my daily routine. Just have a chat about, you know, the sort of things which you spend a lot of time thinking about, but you never actually have a conversation about. So yeah, it's been lovely. Thank you. No, it's been, like I said, it's been an honour. And what I'll do, I'll send you a copy, folks. Everyone, I always send a copy to those who I interview, and then you'll also see, if you don't see some of the things that I've got on here, it's because it's bonus footage. It's for their eyes only, and for yours when you actually get onto the bonus part. So if there's parts here that you don't see and we're talking about, oh, where's that bit where, you know, you asked this or you did this and did that, it's because it's all edited. So, but on here, this is unedited. So what you'll see, Kyle, you'll be like, yes. Did you hear about this bit? Like, no, where's that coming? You're like, see, you didn't see all of it. So that's the best part about it. When you edit, you get to see the edited version first, Kyle. So you'll get the entertainment out of it first. Well, there's a part of great value of it is being, knowing the show host and being able to get the edited version first before everyone sees it. All right, Carl, thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of the day. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Kyle. You take care and give my regards to everyone. You too. Thanks. See you later. Bye for now.